So this video is going to be the study guide for the retest on Chapter P and the Chapter 5 study guide, and I am doing this at home, so I'm sorry if you hear my kids in the background, but we're going to see what we can do with this here. And again, I'm probably going to go quick, so if you need to, you might need to pause and go back. So we're going to evaluate the function below for f of -5. And so -5 would be in this branch. It would be less than this. And I'm going to tell you some of the mistakes I was seeing. Some of us weren't reading the branches correctly. We're putting it in the wrong branch. And I kind of tricked you and flipped it around on the test. And the other thing is this only tells us about the domain. That's the domain. You don't write it down with the problem. So all you're going to write down for the problem is when we're evaluating f of -5, you're going to substitute the -5 into that top branch. So -5 cubed is -125, and then -6 would be -131. Okay, in this one we are going to substitute in a -1, and notice -1 is bigger than 3, so that makes this a true statement. So I'm going to go into the bottom function. So f of -1 is 3 times -1 minus 2. 3 times -1 is -3. And -3 and -2 is -5. And again, you don't need to write this other stuff down. That's just telling you the domain. So the only thing that should be typed in is just that single number. All right, given the graph below, write its piecewise function. So we'll notice that you've got a line and you've got a parabola. Okay, so remember our parabola skeleton is that. Okay, so I'm going to start by writing f of x equals, I kind of make my little curly cues, and I'm going to start by writing my domain. So I need x, and I have to decide where that break in that graph is, and it's at x equals 1. And then I know that this side is to the left of 1. So see how that made a little arrowhead right there? So I make it less than. And this side's to the right of 1. So see how it made an arrowhead? So that's greater than. You get to pick where the inequality sign goes. So I'm going to choose to go there. It's probably going to be matching or multiple choice. So you have to just pick the right one. Now I'm going to write an equation of a line. Remember, line is y equals mx plus b. So my y-intercept this time is 0, and then my slope, I'm going to count this slope triangle. My slope is up 4 and over 1. So my line is 4x. And then I'm going to fill in this here for my parabola. So I'm going to figure out my point. So we're out 1, 2, 3. So my x value is -3, my y value is 0. So I'm not putting anything in for the k. Remember, for the h, we have to flip the sign. So I'm going to go x plus 3 squared plus 0. All right, this is probably where the biggest misses were on the test. Some of us did great, and some of us just did terrible. This is saying, so we've got f of g of 1. This is an x value. So I go to the x-axis, and I find 1 for the orange graph, because this is the g. Okay, so I'm going to go to the x-axis, I'm going to grab 1, and I'm going to go till I hit the orange graph. I'm going to read that y value off. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to substitute that 4 in for that. So I now have f of 4. This is an x value. So I'm going to go to the x-axis on the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4. This time I'm going to go to, green. So I'm going to go up to the green, and I'm going to read the y value off, and the y value in this case is 2. All right, then we've got, this one is g of f of -2. So again, this is an x value. Okay, so I'm going to go to the x-axis, and I'm going to go to -2. And then I'm going to go to the green graph, because f is green. So I'm going to go all the way up to the green. I'm going to go over to the y-axis, and I'm going to read that the value there is a 3. So this is a +3. So I now have g of 3. This is an x value. So I'm going to go to 3 on the x-axis. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go to the orange graph, which it happens to be there, and it is equal to 0. All right, this one is g of f inverse of -2. This inverse indicates that this piece here is a y value. So I'm going to go to the y-axis first. So I'm going to go down -2 on the y, and the f is the green graph. So I'm going to go all the way over to the green graph, and I'm going to go up and read the x value. The x value is, so this piece here is -10. Oops, sorry, it's skipping. So g of -10. Now, this doesn't have the inverse on it, so this is an x value. So I'm going to go to -10 on the x, which is right here. I'm going to go down to my orange graph. I'm going to read the y value off, which looks like -4. All right, here we have to do f of g, or so g of f of x, which means I'm taking the f and I'm substituting it into the g. So I am going to do, so I write my outer function, parentheses squared plus 3. Then I took this, I'm going to take this and substitute it in. So 3x minus 5. Remember, this thing here means write it twice. So I'm going to FOIL that. Sorry, it's skipping weird. All right, I'll try this again. All right, so I'm going to FOIL, and of course it skipped to the other page. So we're going to do 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times -5 is -15x. We've got another one of those in the middle. And then -5 times -5 is +25. Some of us made a sign error right there. And then a lot of us that missed this just missed moving this 3 down. So we missed, it was a 1 or something on the test. So we missed that piece. So now I'm just combining like terms. 9x squared, -15 and -15 is -30. And then 25 and 3 is 28. And stop there. Do not do anything else with it. All right, this says we got to find the inverse function. Notice you don't have to type in the inverse notation. You just need to type in the function that you get. The biggest thing with inverses is we take the x and the y and we switch their places. So I'm going to go x equals 4y plus 5. I'm going to take the 5 and subtract it to the other side because I'm trying to get y by itself. And I'm going to divide by 4. So my new inverse function that I would be looking at is 4 as x minus 5 over 4. All right, here we have to determine if the functions below are inverses of each other. So this is where I have to check to see if f of g of x and g of f of x are both equal to x. If they're both equal to x, great, they're inverses. If they're not, if one of them isn't, then they're not inverses. So I'm going to start by taking the g and plugging it into the f. So I'm going to write the f function the way it is, with a parentheses for the x. And then I'm going to take this and substitute it in. So -4x plus 3. I'm going to distribute in the 4. So we get -16x plus 12 minus 3. If I keep simplifying, I get -16x plus 9. That is definitely not equal to x, so these are not inverses. So now we're going to do this is the chapter 5 stuff here. So which of the following best describes the transformations? So really, first of all, that negative in front means it's a reflection in or across the x-axis. And then remember when we're talking about an x movement, because that's all in the exponent, you switch the sign. So a negative is a shift left 5. This one wants us to describe the equation below. So we kind of need to decide how it's shifting. And this is a little bit different than what we saw on the notes because we had to just draw it by hand on the notes. Really what you're looking at is seeing this point. Oops, sorry. You need to look for the point 0, 1, really. And I'm not seeing 0, 1. If we envision this this one right here, that's what the function is really looking like. Okay. We kind of need to envision where that point 0, 1 went to. So if you kind of envision it, it looks like it went there. So it looks like I'm shifting 1, 2, 3 to the right, but when we do a right shift, remember we switch the sign. So that should be in my exponent. And then it definitely looks like it has increased by 1. So it would be plus 1. So let's see if one of those is our x minus 3 plus 1 is that one right there. All right, Joey has $1,200 to put into his savings account. He is trying to find the best bank to make the most profit on his money after 5 years. He has a choice of the Bank of Tockwitz or Titan Credit Union. At the Bank of Tockwitz, he could earn a rate of 6% with a quarterly compound. The Titan Credit Union offers a rate of 3% and compounds continuously. Which bank should Joey choose? Explain why using mathematics. You'll have to type the explanation on the actual test. Okay? And our time is right here. So you need to know the two formulas, and you have to use both formulas in the problem. So A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT power. And then the other one is A equals PE to the RT, and this one is the continuous formula. Okay. All right, so this is the Bank of Tockwitz is the first one here because this is the compounds quarterly. So our principal is the same for both of them. It's 1,200, and it's 1 plus the rate. Remember, on our rate, we have to take that 6%, and we have to move the decimal place twice to the left. Over n, the number of compounds is quarters, to the 4 times the t, which was the 5. All right, and then from here, you have to hit the buttons on your calculator. I'm going to hit the buttons on my calculator right now because I don't have it calculated ahead of time here. So let's see. I think this one comes out to be, and I know I calculated the answers in the study guide, so hopefully I'm getting this right. So I'm using a different calculator. 16, 16, and 23 cents. And then this one here, my principal is still 1,200. I'm doing E because it's continuous, and my rate is still 0.06, and my time is 5. So I'm going to real quick hit the buttons on my own calculator here. Nope. All right, and then this one comes out to be 16, 19, and 83 cents. So it looks like, just because, and I know it's not a huge difference, it's because the amount of money is small. If you look at this one, it is more, so he should choose the Titan Credit Union instead of the Bank of Tockwitz. So he should choose, so Joey should choose the Titan Credit Union because he earns $1,619.83, and that's about $3 more than the Bank of Tockwitz. So your math explanation is making sure you're showing this work. You can show the work on your paper, but I want to see this explanation here, this final statement typed into the computer, just like you'd have to type it in for an SBAC. All right, we got to write the log as an exponential equation. We were working on these on the board the other day. You got to write this base. So this base here either gets to be the big number or it gets to be the little base. Those are the only options for it. So it can shrink or it can get big. Then these two things loop around. Once you already have one big thing, this thing here has to say small as an exponent, and then this becomes the number across the equals. And look at that, it made a true statement. 8 squared is in fact 64. Use the properties of logarithms to simplify. We know that the e and the natural log cancel each other out, so this is just a 2. We're going to find the exact value. Okay. So that is an interesting question. All right, I am going to start by changing my subtraction into division. So I'm going to go 2 over 32. Okay. And then I know that that simplifies to 1 over 16 because 2 goes into 32 16 times. Before I can cancel this with anything else, I need to make this a base of 4 and I need to bring it upstairs. So log base 4, 1 over 4 squared. In order to bring this upstairs, I have to change that exponent to a negative. So log base 4 of 4 to the negative 2. Then we know that the log base 4 of 4 cancels or goes away because it's equal to 1, and I just get that exponent, so my answer is negative 2 for my exact value. That one's tougher. You need to practice that one a couple times. All right, we need to condense. The first thing we do when we condense is we take these exponents and we move them up top. So I'm going to have log of x minus log of y squared minus log of z cubed. So when I have, we know the division or the subtractions turn into divisions. These would really just both be. Come on. Oh, it's going the wrong way. Oh, there we go. Okay, so these would really just both be on the bottom. So let me show you. If I take that negative and I factor it out, it's log of y squared plus log of z cubed. So I know that this is on the top. I'm going to reduce it to 1 log. So x divided by. And then these guys get multiplied together because it's an addition here. But they stay on the bottom because they're both behind that minus sign. Oops, z cubed. And I'm really making a faux pas there. You have to make sure it looks like an exponent, not a multiplied by 3. So really make sure it's raised to the exponent. All right, this time we have to expand. So the first thing I'm going to do is take that 3 and move it in front. So 3 natural log of xy. Then I take the multiplication and that turns back into addition. So I'm going to keep the 3 out front, natural log of x plus the natural log of y, or you could write it 3 natural log of x plus 3 natural log of y. All right, so this one, there's a lot of answers. You have to be able to get them all, and remember, no spaces or commas in your answers. So which of the following are equivalent to log base 6 of 36? Remember, we have the change of base. All these here look like change of base. So I can do log of the big number divided by log of the base. I can also do that with natural log. I can also do that with a number here on the base. So let's look at what we've got to begin with. That one is a correct answer. This one has the 6 in the wrong spot, but this one has the 36 on top. That's a correct answer. Okay? But there's another way to do the problem. So I can also take this and turn this 36 into a 6. So log base 6 of 6 squared. Now the log base 6 and the 6 cancel, and my exponent 2 is also an answer. So there are 3 answers on this example of it. There may or may not be that many on the test.